Yes, staying with cricket on the SportsMax Zone, Australia are in sight of victory in the first Ashes Test, needing 174 more runs to win with 1 day to play against England at Edgbaston. England resuming day 4 at 28 for 2 in their second innings, were eventually dismissed for 273 on the stroke of T. Joe Root and Harry Brook both top scored with 46, while captain Pat Cummins and spinner Nathan Lyon took 4 wickets each. Australia ended the day on 107 for 3, chasing 281 for victory. Well, the Ashes has been marketed as cricket's greatest rivalry, and it has come with a history of sledging. The act has also been deemed a characteristic of Australian cricket. However, the shoe was on the other foot on day 3 of the first Ashes Test when Ollie Robinson sledged Usman Khawaja after his dismissal. Robinson used expletives while Khawaja was walking off after dismissing the left-hander for 141. Robinson says he has no regrets about the incident.
I don't really care how it's perceived, to be honest. I think it's the Ashes, it's a professional sport. If you can't handle that, what can you handle? No, it's not, but I think when you're in the heat of the moment and you have the passion of the Ashes, that can happen. I think we've all seen Ricky Ponting, other Aussies do the same to us, so just because the shoes on the other foot, it's not received well.
Unapologetic, Ollie Robinson, Fazir Mohammed, where do you stand on this one?
You know, when the producer of today's show let me know that this was going to be part of the discussion, I said, you know, I should use the Labor Day holiday in Trinidad and Tobago as an excuse to get out of this discussion. Because if we start this properly, I'm going to get myself in trouble. But to answer your specific question, if this is because of the Australian reaction, then it merely confirms that the Australians are a bunch of shameless hypocrites. Because they are the ones who do this. They do it to everyone in all sports, and they talk about it being part of the game, that this is not a game for weak hearts and so on. So all of the outrage over the fact that of what has been said to Usman Khawaja, and Khawaja is one of the quieter, soft-spoken individuals and would never engage in that sort of behavior, is just typical of Australia, because they always draw a line. They always say something that goes across the line. They can do that because they walk with their own marker and eraser and always drawing lines wherever it suits them. So that element of it should be dumped in the bin immediately, because the Australian outrage or disappointment is completely irrelevant, because in this particular issue, they are a bunch of shameless hypocrites. As to it being acceptable in the cut and thrust of the Ashes, again, it's about effective marketing. We have all bought into it, including us in the Caribbean. We've basically given up any sort of willingness to acknowledge, look, it's not just about England, Australia, that there are other teams playing cricket, that none of these teams can ever come close to what the West Indies would have achieved over many, many decades. We have surrendered all of that to this marketing behemoth known as the Ashes. So when someone like an Ollie Robinson uses the excuse of the cut and thrust of the Ashes to basically be profane and vulgar and be allowed to get away with it so far, even if he might face a little ICC sanctions or but being praised in the British media for it, then we have contributed to it.
Yeah, what should the sanction be for Ollie Robinson? In my opinion, there should be a sanction. What should it be?
Well, as far as I'm aware, there's an ICC code of conduct. And if you behave that way, I can't remember the specific code, but you should be fined. In the same way that Moeen Ali quite correctly has been fined for trying to repair his damaged spinning finger during the course of the first innings of Australia, and he has lost, I think, 20% of his match fee, whatever it is, then Ollie Robinson should be fined. Because we've seen this happen over and over again, but again, and this is why I'm sorry that this is a topic for discussion, because certain nations are allowed to get away with it because the media narrative builds it up as all part of the cut and thrust of the game. And as I mentioned before many times on this platform, I recall Mike Proctor, the former South African all-rounder, then a match referee, being asked many years ago about the behavior of these South Africans on the field against the West Indies. And his response as match referee was that, well, these South Africans are far more competitive and far more aggressive. So again, it's a narrative that sells well and is promoted and pushed by the English media, the Australian media, to a lesser extent the Indian media, but they're getting on board as well. So therefore, being vulgar, being crude, in other words, behaving in a manner in which if the ordinary individual walking down the street would be at least looked at with some disrespect, with some surprise, or maybe even charged with public misconduct or something. It's not just that they are allowed to get away with it, but they're praised for it.
Yeah, Faz, I agree with you 100% because the Australians have been the front runners with sledging and so on. So it's appalling for me to hear them feeling this way about sledging because we know that's what they do. But you touched on it a short while ago in the sense that Khawaja is regarded as a nice guy, and maybe that is part of the reason why some Aussies haven't taken it well. I see where Ricky Ponting, making a comment on it, says that Robinson has just sledged probably the nicest man that's ever walked on the planet. Could it be that it's because it's Khawaja why the Aussies have taken it this way?
No, it's because it's an Australian, it's an excuse to get back at Ollie Robinson. Let's put it in perspective, Lance. Do you remember when Philip Hughes sadly lost his life on the cricket field, and the Australians were all in tears, and Michael Clarke, the captain at the time, was almost couldn't bring himself to play the game anymore, and all of that. Within a year, he was talking to Jimmy Anderson and saying, "Get ready for a so-and-so broken arm." In front with the stump microphone right there. So don't be fooled by Ricky Ponting and the shallow rhetoric and Khawaja is a nice guy and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It is intentionally trying their very best to get back at Ollie Robinson and create this impression that, this was beyond the pale and beyond the line, because who knows, Ponting, even as he's doing commentary there, probably has his own magic marker and eraser because they keep drawing the line every 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right, well, the thing is, they've got to get Khawaja out in the morning as well, Faz, because Khawaja probably stands between Australia and England winning again. Ricardo started the segment by saying that the Australians are in sight of a victory. We know how the Aussies and the English matches, the Ashes, go. It's like a seesaw battle. And statistically, the Aussies appear to have to be in a position to win the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they would lose 4 or 5 quick wickets tomorrow and England are back in charge again. And Khawaja, his duration or time at the crease could be the difference between the Aussies winning or losing.
Could be, and very quickly, at this point, with those wickets of Labuschagne and Steve Smith, I actually give England the edge.
Yes.
Because I think that makes a huge difference. And there's supposed to be some rain early tomorrow. We'll see how that goes, how that adds to the dimension of things. But I just give England a slight edge at this time.
England,
yes.
Okay, I totally accept that because I think the match is on a knife's edge. Wayne Lewis called me today and pointed out that Khawaja would have now batted every single day of this test match. He batted on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and he'll be batting on day 5, which Wayne suggests he had done the same thing batting for Jamaica in a match in the Red Stripe Championship some years ago while he was playing. So I guess that's one for the notebook as well.
Well, indeed, Wayne is now in exalted company. Usman Khawaja and Geoffrey Boycott, who once did that in an Ashes test in Headingley in 1977, where he actually scored 100, his 100th first-class 100, when he had batted all 5 days of that test match.
Yeah. Lance and Faz, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the Red Stripe tournament a 50-over tournament, a one-day tournament?
It was at one point, yeah.
So if Wayne batted on all days of the one-day tournament...
No.
You see,
it was a 4-day.
Ricardo is showing his age.
Yes, it is.
In 1988, it was Red Stripe sponsored, the 4-day championship.
Forgive me.
Which year were you born? Which year were you born, Ricardo?
Not 1988, that much I can tell you.
Faz and I were big men at that time. Weren't you, Faz?
I was an old man already.
You age well, Faz. You age really well.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
All right, Paz, maybe we'll talk tomorrow to see if it's England or Australia that we're talking about taking a lead in the Ashes series. As usual, always great talking to you, Paz.
Take care.
Yeah, and Ricardo, Ashes on a knife's edge.
Yeah, I'm still taken aback by the fact that England declared at 393 for 8 on day number 1. But they're still in with a very good shot of winning this test match, as is Australia at this stage. We take a break. We'll be back with more.